The Urals, a Russian region at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, 2,000 kilometers from Moscow. Many see it as a territory of enigmas and unsolved mysteries. It's known as Russia's Twilight Zone. Each year, thousands of UFO hunters and scores of scientists come here to take a closer look at unexplained phenomena. But what can explain the frequent occurrence of paranormal activity in this region? What are these UFOs, and where, exactly, are they coming from? Arkaim is one of the paranormal hotspots in the southern Urals. This is where Russian psychics, astrologers and clairvoyants congregate. Each evening, some visitors to Arkaim perform magic rituals symbolizing human reincarnation. The people sitting by the campfire are supposed to throw their old clothes into the flames.
Cast all your fears, aggression and ailments onto these things and throw them into the fire.
Irina Ivanova has traveled hundreds of kilometers and gone a night without sleep, all for the sake of a visit to Arkaim. She regards herself as an expert psychic with years of experience and comes here every year with several of her followers to take in what she calls the special energy of the area.
This is known as the place of strength. People come here to communicate with their forefathers, with their ancestors. They draw strength from roots they never knew they had. They get something totally unexpected.
Arkaim has an unusual history. Many scientists agree that what is now a mere meadow in the hills was once the site of some urbanized capital city, the heart of an ancient civilization. Arkaim is estimated to be as old as the Egyptian pyramids. Local scientist Dr. Gennady Zdanoevich is credited with the discovery of Arkaim. In 1987, he identified the outline of the ancient town behind the hills.
Watch out!
Today, only its circular outline remains, but it can be seen from a bird's-eye view. Arkaim was laid out in the form of a circle. If you look from above, you can see there are two overlapping rings. Scientists believe that the city was built as a reconstruction of the universe.
The walls had been preserved here, and here you can see the inside wall, where the light grass is. It's a defensive wall, and here you can see a hopper-shaped hollow, but it's a fake. Enemies were enticed into the walls and pelted with stones and tar.
4,000 years ago, people moved to the area, building thick walls, mysterious towns, and solar observatories. Little is left of Arkaim. Its tall walls and towers were destroyed a long time ago, and the town was ruined by fires, floods, winds, and time itself.
Guys, look here. It's a pot. And it's a cross at the bottom.
Archaeologists have since uncovered casting molds, blacksmith tools, and intricate works of bronze and ceramic. Archaeological digs have shown that the ancient town was inhabited by the forebears of the Aryan race.
Those ancient Aryans were credited with everything on Earth. They were even said to have discovered metals.
Yekaterinburg, capital of the Urals region. It's a major industrial and financial center. With all the office buildings, traffic jams and crowded sidewalks, it seems an unlikely place for something mystical.
Hello.
Hello.
Andrei Yubushkin is a logistics manager for a transport company. But his hobby is about as far from the field of transportation as it can be. Motion is probably the only similarity. Andrei studies unidentified flying objects. His hobby takes him to every corner of the region. Now he and his friend Dmitry are about to set out for the village of Malyobka. This small town is 300 kilometers from Yekaterinburg and nearly 2,000 kilometers from Moscow. It entered the national spotlight back in the late 1980s. It was then that Emil Bachurin, one of the villagers, sent a letter to a Moscow newspaper recounting his contacts with extraterrestrials. Several years later, he died in a fire, but his stories remain on record in a documentary.
All of them look like humans. Some are just like you and me. Others are oversized giants, 4 or 5 meters tall, and they fly through the air.
UFO enthusiasts claim that there is almost daily contact between humans and travelers from extraterrestrial civilizations. The number of people wishing to communicate with aliens is constantly growing, and the locals make a fast buck out of people's desire to see something that defies scientific explanation. For instance, Victor gets 50 rubles, less than $2 for ferrying people across the river.
Okay, there we go.
The mysterious site where genuine UFOs can supposedly be seen is known by locals as the Zone. It cannot be reached by car. From the village, visitors go by boat, then travel on foot for 8 kilometers. Amateur UFO seekers and tourists camp out close to the so-called astral meadow, a reference to one of the zone's centers. These men first came here in 2004.
Once I saw something interesting, but I don't want to talk about it.
What did it look like?
A sphere.
Andrei and Dmitry from Yekaterinburg study peculiar phenomena. They say that several years ago, they too saw something like a fiery sphere near Malyobka. They didn't manage to capture any shots of that particular UFO, but they have scores of pictures where glowing spheres are easily discernible.
Here it is. Look at it.
Sightings of glowing spheres are said to be quite common. According to UFO researchers, mirages, time aberrations, flying saucers, and of course, aliens are also on record here. Another tourist encampment is just a kilometer away. UFO tracker Andrei Lyubushkin welcomes his colleagues from the city of Perm. These young men came by boat. They're spending their holiday in tents beside the campfire at the edge of the woods, far away from city streets and office buildings. They waste no time getting to their story about the fiery sphere.
Was it a sphere, you said?
Yes, a silver sphere.
How long was it there for? How did it show up and disappear?
We saw it on a hillside, about 50 meters away. As we moved closer, and the distance between us was about 20 meters, it vanished into thin air, just like this.
Andrei and Dmitry are concerned only with the facts or documentary evidence supporting them. But hardly any of the stories can be verified.
The zone treats visitors differently and shows them different things. What I've seen there makes me think that the place is well suited for me.
Tourists coming to Arkaim sometimes see inexplicable phenomena too. A photographer from Kazakhstan called Radik was going to produce a collection featuring the picturesque Urals landscape for an exhibition. But his concept changed after he spotted a peculiar energy flow in one of the pictures. He says he saw a white cloud which looked like a human figure. Copies of the picture are now in great demand in Arkaim.
The spirit of Arkaim.
Very beautiful. So nice, looks like wings.
Right. Somebody has even detected a human face.
The picture was taken near this hill. It's popularly known as Mount Penance. Nikolai Silivanov, a pensioner, comes here every year. Initially, he brought his children. The newcomers are his grandchildren. Nikolai says Arkaim gives him new strength.
I feel the place creates an aura around me. I also feel relaxed here, like my soul is at peace with me.
Arkaim has also changed this man's life. Oleg used to be the senior manager at a Moscow subsidiary of a major US corporation. Now he's taken the name Mustafa Ibrahim, and he breeds rabbits in a local village. Today he leads a reclusive life. Being a round-the-clock consultant is a thing of the past. His main concern now is to find food for his rabbits.
If I feed them only grass, the little rabbits will eat 2 sacks a day.
Mustafa says that when he felt the powerful effect of the energy coming from these places, he quit his job and sold his Moscow apartment. He then bought this village hut a few kilometers from Arkaim, a place surrounded by legend. He was used to talking with people all day long, but now his companions are only dogs and rabbits.
Hey, shut up. These are my rabbits. When I'm going to feed them, they line up like this. First there's 5 white, then 1 red, then 4 black, and 2 gray at the end. It's so beautiful.
There are only 200 households in the village of Put-Oktabria. Its nearest city is Magnitogorsk, but that's 150 kilometers away. In Soviet times, locals made their living on a collective farm. Well, now they have to make money elsewhere. Mustafa's neighbors are pensioners. They deliver milk to Arkaim.
We live off our cattle. He runs a hotel business, and that's how he makes a living. There is nothing unusual in that.
Mustafa regularly visits Arkaim, but more often than not, he helps people prepare before they go to the site of the ancient town. His house has been functioning as a mini hotel. The previous owner had decorated the guest rooms himself, in an oriental style.
These plates are simple enough. They have only some quotes from the Quran on them. Old people living in the East used to read these verses over their food before they began each meal. They believe this will make the food healthier.
There are always visitors to Mustafa's house. More and more people come to this area of an ancient civilization, and many keep coming back.
I'd say they're driven by a spiritual vacuum in their hearts. They're keen to have it filled with something. In that sense, many are not very comfortable with religions. They want to find something different.
Mustafa expects another group of visitors at his house tonight, because mystery forever attracts people to the Urals.
Is that so much of we were practicing democracy.
There's the Taliban bad guys.
The so-called war on terror. Has it failed or only failing? To date, the war on terror has only increased violence around the world.
Wealthy British scion Zach Wilson, investment activist
Markets, finance, scandal. Find out what's really happening to the global economy with Max Kaiser for a no-holds-barred look at the global financial headlines. Tune in to Kaiser Report on RT.
The ancient town of Arkaim was founded 4,000 years ago in Russia's southern Urals. According to some estimates, it's as old as the Egyptian pyramids. Today, only the contours of the town remain. But Dr. Gennady Zdanoevich, the local scientist who discovered Arkaim, has no difficulty finding his bearings.
The entrance from the north is more or less identifiable. Entrances from the south and from the east were less obvious, but they were secret entrances leading to underground labyrinths. Strangers had no access to this fortress.
Archaeologists have been digging on the site for over 20 years. In summertime, local college undergraduates, including students of Dr. Zdanojevic, work as volunteers under the guidance of professionals.
Guys, look, it's a bone. I think it's a rib.
No, it looks more like a hip bone.
Ivan has been here many times before. He'll soon write a scientific paper about Arkaim.
On the one hand, here I've become aware of the fact that man is part of nature. On the other hand, when I cut into all those cultural layers, I clearly realize that man stands apart because he changes nature to suit his needs.
Tourists from all over the world have arrived at where the ancient town once stood.
Here used to be a street. It has a wooden covering. People might move freely here.
Most of the visitors to Arkaim don't care much about historical research. They're attracted instead by the mystical atmosphere generated by over 20 years of excavation work.
Let's go to Mount Love. We have some business to attend to, a bit of sorcery. Enough for now. It's summer. Time for love.
People with supposed psychic powers and fans of the paranormal have named each of the hills surrounding the ancient landmark. One of them is called Mount Love, another Mount Shamanka, which derives from a Russian word meaning to practice witchcraft. The campers start each morning with energizing exercises. Those with psychic skills and bioenergetics experts tell people how to heal themselves.
Our hands are our healers. They can do anything. They are the main channels healing deep-seated ailments. You can easily suppress headaches using this energy. This is what you do, as if you were combing your hair.
After the energy-generating exercises, Irina Ivanova, who believes herself to be psychic, measures the growth of the volunteers' so-called biofields, along with her husband. They use special frames to do it. Healers say they move in harmony with the person's energy.
This is the edge of the person's biofield. Sometimes the frames pinpoint it, sometimes they move toward each other, and sometimes they interplay.
Andrei and Dmitry, experts on UFOs and extraordinary phenomena, are visiting forests around the village of Malyubka to study natural sources of energy. This area is one of the best-known hotspots for paranormal activity in Russia. Valery Yakimov is a local who's made the biggest contribution to the study of the zone. He's camping out near what's known as Astral Meadow. Valery says he's seen more unidentified flying objects here than anywhere else.
Hello there. How are you?
Fine. How's the zone?
Guys, the zone is becoming more active. Maybe people coming here become more sensitive to its activity. Anyway, they see many unusual things here.
Valery Yakimov filmed one of his first encounters with a UFO on video. Fellow experts now refer to him as the one who saw the orange sphere.
Clearly. See him clearly in tenfold increase.
Valery says he observed such things nearly every day. In fact, he says he saw a column of light just days before the UFO experts arrived.
From here, it went there. It turned into a light spot before it finally disappeared. Some think it's a sphere, but it's not. It's just a source of light.
Where'd you see it?
Right here.
Andrei and Dmitry decide to use a radiation detector to measure the radioactivity levels where the sphere is supposed to have appeared. Some time ago, the same devices were used in the Russian army. The monitor registers weak radiation coming from the Earth.
The radiation poses no hazard to life, none whatsoever. The monitor shows something might have come out of the Earth, but I don't know what it is.
The UFO experts don't yet know exactly what causes the radiation.
It would be interesting to take measurements right after the object's disappearance.
Yeah, that's possible.
We need to measure radiation soon after an anomaly. That'll give us a better chance of finding something worthwhile.
The village of Ryutinka, 200 kilometers from Yekaterinburg, is another paranormal hotspot in the Urals. One of the villagers, Nikolai Churkin, has been studying UFOs for 50 years. The Soviet KGB was suspicious of his work. Nikolai was questioned several times, and some of his evidence was confiscated. But he has been able to preserve most of it.
Here you can see albums, 2 photo albums with pictures of UFO and reports of our expedition.
The Soviet UFO specialist says his interest was roused after his first contact with aliens. That was when Nikolai was only 5 years old. He maintains that he saw a portal to another dimension in the vegetable garden just outside the house where he lived.
I saw a pyramid. It was a white pyramid. And on that day, a human approaching from the other side. And the vegetation here was quite thick. That was where those potatoes are now. And later, I read books by experts on paranormal events, saying it was entry to a different dimension.
After that, aliens became a frequent sight in the village of Ryutinka. At least that's what Nikolai says.
Well, we saw a flying saucer landing in this forest over there. We were driving from a neighboring village. And at first I thought it was a shooting star or a satellite, but then I clearly saw it was a saucer.
Nikolai says that the object was 30 meters in diameter and 2.5 meters high, with antennae sticking out of the top. At first, the locals poked fun at Nikolai, but later nearly all Ryutinka villagers found themselves in a similar situation. Nikolai's neighbor was no exception.
They say you saw something.
Yes.
Could you tell me about it?
Well, it was a round object, and there were different colors on it. It hovered for a while, and then began moving slowly away.
The psychics, healers and shamans meet near Yekaterinburg each summer and share their experiences with one another.
Highest expressions, everyone.
These people came here from several towns. They first met only a few hours ago, but share a common interest. A set of exercises helping to promote harmony between man and nature. Orange clothes symbolize the joy of life. The color white means purity. These people walk around the meadows for hours on end. Each exercise has a meaning of its own.
You touch the earth and communicate with the skies. Everything in you becomes pure, and you yourself can purify the world.
Nikolai Orzhak, a hereditary shaman, is one of the festival's most important guests. Those who want to attend his sessions sign up well in advance. Some want to know their future. Others feel the need to get over a divorce, while others may be in need of finding a spouse.
My aim is to allow people to relax. But it's a combination of relaxation and awareness, a state between slumber and wakefulness. When they fall into a trance, I tell them what they should do to keep their souls strong.
People who practice similar techniques also seek the healer's advice. One of them is Aramil Buzyakayev, a coach from Kazakhstan. He's a bioenergetics expert. He's asked Nikolai to exorcise what he calls a negative force from him. The shaman resorted to his favorite method of hypnotizing the patient. Nikolai performs this type of procedure about 10 times a day. Ramil is pleased with the result. He says the negative force has magically disappeared.
I felt a great relief. There was a sensation of lightness all over me. It felt as if energy was pouring into me, and now I'm just fine.
As UFO experts Andrei and Dmitry wind up their studies in the sighting zone near the village of Malyubka, they decide to talk to the locals. As it turns out, they're not so mystified by the so-called phenomena said to take place in their area. Some believe the anomalies are the result of geographic and atmospheric conditions. Others insist the anomalies result from tests conducted at an army testing range nearby.
I think 90% of what people see here is the result of those tests, one way or another.
After that, they mark out those territories as paranormal zones.
That's it. People can't explain what goes on here and invent things. That's much easier to do.
After their chat with the locals, the two UFO experts pitch a tent and make a campfire. They still hope that this area will reveal at least some of its secrets. If not on this trip, there's always next time.